What is up, YouTube? This is That PlayStation Gamer. Today we're going to be reacting to Mischief's video, The Last of Us PC ports a scam and Naughty Dog should be sued. Now, I'm going to be honest here. Obviously, if you guys know me, I'm going to have a problem with what that title says, especially when it comes to the sued part and definitely the scam part, because, well, I got a feeling as we get into this video, I'll be able to explain myself, but I want to make this clear right now. I have no ill wars towards Mischief. I have no ill towards him as a person. This is just me disagreeing with he's obviously going to, he's hinting at he's going to say in the video, and this is just a simple disagreement. Do not go out of this way to hurt this guy. Don't freaking spam him or anything. Don't repeat what Quantum TV did, essentially, is what I'm saying. So, with all that said, let's just get into this video and let's see how he presents himself. Because, like I said, obviously I'm going to have problems with he's hinting at here. I'll put on full screen and here we go. Damn.
The Last of Us launched on PC, and oh boy, it is a disgusting and quite frankly despicable scam. Every single aspect of this port is broken. I'm not exaggerating or blowing the issues out of proportion when I say that. Every single aspect of this port was broken at launch, and 99.9% of the game is still a broken, buggy mess despite Naughty Dog's repeated attempts to gaslight the scam victims into thinking everything is actually fine, and it's in fact their fault for the game being broken. Hence why they had to patch the fucking walk-in animations for Ellie when going upstairs. I wish I was joking, but you will struggle to ever find a more broken PC port than this throughout history. Even goddamn Batman Arkham Knight had a better port upon its initial launch, and that shit had to be delisted because of how laughably bad it was. Unfortunately, however, Naughty Dog doesn't give a single fuck about their customers, as
If that was the case, then why would they be fixing the game? From what I've heard, it sounds like the port's definitely gotten better, especially the last couple of days, where they are trying to fix out a lot of these problems. And yeah, 100% I agree. The game should not have been launched in the state it was launched in. 100% agree on that. We could agree on that. But at the same time, we need to point the blame where the blame needs to be pointed. You have to remember, Naughty Dog didn't make this port. Yes, they had something to do with it towards the end of it before they launched it, but this is on Iron Galaxy, a studio that, to put best, has a pretty shady record when it comes to ports. And I don't know why Sony uses them. I don't know why any studio uses them. It feels like they almost go out of their way to make the game look bad. And yeah, this definitely hurts The Last of Us brand, as a whole. But man, I feel so weird to see that this part right here. Naughty Dog are trash. Yeah, Naughty Dog is going to defend their product, but at the same time, it's not Naughty Dog who made it. Just want to say that right now. It's Iron Galaxy. Point the blame at Iron Galaxy, not Naughty Dog. Because they barely had anything to do with this from what I could tell.
Proven by their recent history. Just the past couple of years have proven alone that Naughty Dog is one of the most egregiously scummy companies in gaming. Reselling a game to PS5.
Really? They're worse than Activision Blizzard, who are now gonna start selling cosmetics that have, add-ons that will alter the game a bit. They're worse than EA. They're worse than everyone else. Just because They sold a game for $70. Yet again, something they had nothing to do with. That's Sony's decision. And as I said before, I think $70 was too much to ask for. I think if anything, you should get a fucking discount. If they could find like, hey, you have The Last of Us remastered on your PlayStation account without PlayStation Plus, I think they should have made it $50. And even then, I think 50 might have been a little bit too much, but it would have been a little bit easier to understand. Naughty Dog's not the one telling Sony to make it $70. That's Sony's decision, not Naughty Dog.
Players via an underwhelming remake that only served as a means of cashing in on the normies coming off of the Last of Us show, whilst cutting the multiplayer content in order to resell it to you as a standalone title that will undoubtedly cost you another full $70.
We'll have to wait and see on that, but with the rumors, Sony is looking more into free-to-play games. This is my conspiracy theory. A little bit of Alex Jones on the screen, so that irony's not lost on me, but I've said, what if Factions 2 is actually a free-to-play, game? Free-to-play, game. And if you have The Last of Us Part 2, you get like some extra cosmetic or something. It's like, thank you for being a long-time fan. Again, this is just wishful thinking. Maybe it's a full-price game. Maybe it's a free-to-play game. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it right now. I can't handle it more.
If it ever releases, to now flash out scamming people on PC as a further means of cashing in on the people coming into the franchise off of the show, via once again reselling The Last of Us, but this time at $60 despite the very same game being a full $70 on their own storefront. You know, all you can do at this point as a console player is laugh at the fact that Sony, when selling you The Last of Us Part 1 on PlayStation on sale, was still more expensive than The Last of Us full price on Steam. And all you should do as a PC player right now with The Last of Us is to not buy the remake whatsoever. Either pirate it, and yes, I am fully endorsing the piracy of The Last of Us on PC. This product flat out should not be legal to sell, but if you do want to play the game legally, then simply emulate the PS3 version. That version is actually a playable title. There really is no plausible explanation for this remake's initial existence other than to cash in on the dumb normies who will buy it no matter.
Also, to update the graphics, update character models, update the gameplay mechanics, especially when it comes to the bow. I mean, I got a strange feeling this man has not played the first Last of Us and hasn't played the remaster, or I guess you would call it the remake, remaster, whatever people are calling it. Because I think part 1 is the definitive way to play it. Now, yes, again, 100% agree that it should not be sold on PC in the state it was launched in. But just like every other game that gets, half-baked rushes and launches, it's getting better with time. I mean, fuck's sake, do I have to bring up No Man's Sky and how half-baked that game was? How many lies and fake promises they made? And then the game got better. Yeah, it sucks. It took a while for it to get better, but it got better. Seems like that's the case happening here with The Last of Us on PC, except the difference is between that and No Man's Sky is No Man's Sky had the lack of content. The Last of Us was more of just a stability kind of thing. Yeah, again, I am saying that 100% agree. It should not be sold in a terrible state. But at the same time, I feel like you're pointing the blame at someone who doesn't deserve the blame when they had barely anything to do with this port to begin with.
To what? Because it's newer, let alone the abhorrent rushing of the PC version. And yes, that is exactly what Naughty Dog has done here with this port. They have outright stolen people's money and scammed them.
What? They stole money, huh? Someone's gonna have to explain this one to me. How did they steal the money? How did they? How did Naughty Dog walk into your bank account and just take the money? They didn't. You ordered the game. You paid for the game. You got the game. Look, I'm just going to say this right now. I would not call this a scam. Because a scam is I paid for something and I got nothing in return or not what I was promised. Like, okay, for example, let's say I'm on Amazon and I ordered a brand new computer. Got all the nice, freaking specs that they list on there. But then it's like, wait a minute, no, they didn't give me the same PC. It doesn't have the same specs. That's a scam. Or if they just took the money and never sent it to me to begin with, that's a scam. This is a game that was released in a not so stable state. It's like buying a bunch of bananas that aren't exactly ripe. You still got the bananas. It's still bananas you got the other day. It's just not the bananas in a good state. And again, I agree that it should not have been sold in that state. But at the same time, you still got The Last of Us. And they're making it better. And they're making it better. They could be douches about it and just say, fuck it. Fuck it. You don't get stability updates. No, you don't get any of that. But they know if they don't do that, that will fucking ruin their reputation. Not just Iron Galaxy, but freaking Naughty Dog and Sony. So they're doing the right thing by making it better. Yes, I keep saying it. It should not have been in the state to begin with. But at the same time, it's better than to just say, screw you and run away with the money. They're actually doing something about it.
They have sold an almost completely non-functioning title and still haven't delisted it momentarily, as they attempt to salvage the biggest mess of a port in history. Even fucking Warner Bros. Knew what was right to do when they released Arkham Knight's infamous PC port. Delist the trash until it was fixed. And we are all well aware of how infamous Warner Bros. Is when it comes to being anti their own communities, especially modding. But of course, delisting it wouldn't help Naughty Dog, so what did they do instead? Well, they poorly attempted to gaslight the victims of their scam on Twitter. The Last of Us Part 1 PC players, we know some of you have not experienced the Naughty Dog quality you expected. Our team is working hard to resolve issues currently preventing some of you from experiencing the game to ensure it reaches the quality level you expect and deserve. I mean, what else could they do to show good faith to fans after falsely marketing The Last of Us 2, abusing the copyright system relentlessly?
Yeah, because people were actually putting out videos talking about spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2, and Naughty Dog and Sony were like, hey, guys, we don't want you talking about this because this game's not finished. How dare Sony protect a upcoming product from the big spoilers of the game that can ruin the product and ruin the experience for people. By the way, I don't know if you guys know who this person is, but this person here is a fucking scumbag. Just like the Quartering and all those other guys. Fucking sit there, just talk all this shit they want, but offer nothing in return far as valid criticism. Just blah, 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 Naughty Dog sucks. Blah, 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 Sony sucks. Shut the fuck up. This is not directed. What I'm saying right there is not directed towards freaking Mischief. That's directed to this channel that he thankfully blurred out.
In order to silence critics of them, releasing a mediocre remake to cash in on the normies who don't know any better, and outright scamming PC customers. Although a truly hilarious attempt at gaslighting players into thinking that only some players were experiencing issues in the fundamentally broken port, it is still nevertheless an absolutely disgusting attempt from Naughty Dog to hide the severity of just how broken this port is. After all, if the average consumer isn't aware of just how bad the port is, then they don't have to delist their scam. How dare players call them out?
Where are you getting this idea? Yeah, they made a tweet that did sound a little tone deaf. I'll admit that. It sounded tone deaf. But at the same time, not everyone was experiencing the same problems. Like, what Naughty Dog considers a big problem at the time versus what the consumers think is a big problem at the time could be two completely different things. Yeah, I think what you're doing here is you're blowing things out of proportion just to make Naughty Dog look worse than they actually intend to sound. That tweet sounded tone deaf. I agree on that. But at the same time, it's like, what do you expect from a tweet? Do you expect Neil Druckmann to get on camera and say, we're sorry to everyone? Yeah, that probably would have been preferable than a tweet, but at the same time, it's like, a tweet only gets so much across. You can't convey emotion through a tweet.
out for it. Only some players had negative experiences with the port, and of course, it's your fault for not updating your drivers. As we also encouraged players to ensure you are using the latest Nvidia, AMD, and Intel graphics drivers. It's not even as if all of the countless issues with the game can be fixed. If you were smart enough to watch Digital Foundry's video covering the game, you'd be aware of the fact they discovered that the port uses the exact same compression scheme as the PS5 version.
Essentially, when you look in the game folder, you can see that the game has like files for OODL compression scheme. The decompression scheme as a result of that too. That's used on the PlayStation 5. It is typically never really used on PC releases. PC releases uses things like zlib and stuff like that, much more CPU friendly. And in this game, when you just load into a new area, you'll see huge background streaming occurring, and the CPU related performance drops heavily.
And as Digital Foundry stated, this compression system is not commonly used in the PC games development space for a reason. Honestly, that fundamental and near unfixable issue with the port was likely Naughty Dog's fault, and for once not Iron Galaxy's, as no matter how incompetent Iron Galaxy has shown itself to be in the past with the Arkham Knight PC port, among others, I don't believe for a second that they'd be incompetent enough to use the same compression system as the PS5 version on PC. Not to mention the rampant issues with VRAM plaguing this port. In order to obtain last generation graphics in this port, you at the very least need a resounding
Last generation graphics? I don't know, man. I think it looks like pretty much on par with PS5 level graphics. I mean, I don't know how to respond to this part because I don't understand half the show. If I'm being honest here, I am not the biggest know-how on, PC compression and stuff like that. So I'm going to assume Mischief knows what he's talking about. I'm just going to assume that. Giving you the benefit of the doubt, bro. Yeah, again, no ill war intended to you. Just, I feel like the title is a little, what would I say, aggressive. Like, suing Naughty Dog for a bad port. By that extension, every studio that's put out a bad port should get sued. Just saying.
12 gigabytes of VRAM, a baffling fact considering the stark and unbearable difference between high and medium settings. If you have 8 gigabytes of VRAM, then I apologize in advance for Naughty Dog here, because my god, we are stuck with late generation PS2 graphics, which is made all the more
Okay, I think you're being over dramatic there yet again. I think this looks a hell of a lot better than what's on the PS2. Let's tone it down a little, buddy. Come on. That's just being very, I don't know how to describe that outside of aggressive.
baffling by the fact that the remake even on PS5 doesn't have as good graphics as The Last of Us Part 2, a title that was made for the PS4, a system with 8GB of VRAM. How an Irvine Galaxy still gets contracts to port games to the PC platform is honestly quite baffling to me, especially considering how they not only co-developed The Last of Us port, but also Arkham Knight. Out of all the titles I'd expect to be as fucked as this, it certainly wouldn't be Sony's magnum opus, aka The Last of Us. Quite frankly, this port should have been delisted, and there was in fact a reason as to why no one was given review copies for this port. Naughty Dog's lack of delisting of this port is something that should not be forgotten. Hell, maybe you somehow don't believe Naughty Dog scam PC customers here despite it falling under every requirement to be labelled as one, especially if you were planning on playing the title on your Steam Deck, since Neil Druckmann outright exclaimed prior to launch that Ellie and Joel will grace the Steam Deck. Don't worry.
So that was a fucking lie.
Turns out Ellie and
It does run on Steam Deck. Just saying. It does run on Steam Deck. Is it, the verification mark? No. But just saying, it runs on Steam Deck. Technically, any game on Steam can run on the Steam Deck. It's just, does it run as what people would say are like the standards for the Steam Deck? No. That kind of makes me sad too. I'm going to agree on this. This is sad because I love the idea of playing The Last of Us on a Steam Deck. The Last of Us on the go. Fuck. I don't think I'd ever stop playing it. But yeah, I agree. That is stupid. Why would Neil Druckmann say something like that and then it's not even supported on a Steam Deck? Well, at least verified supported.
Joel did not in fact grace the Steam Deck.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
It is
Yeah.
flat out unplayable on the deck. Why is it unplayable? Because its optimization issues don't just come down to bafflingly using the same compression system as the PS5 version, but also down to the fact they broke a major rule Microsoft laid out for any DirectX 12 title. Do not use D3, D11 on 12. Pulling this lazy bullshit is responsible for both the shoddy CPU performance on The Witcher 3's next-gen patch, and now The Last of Us's PC port. At a very basic and fundamental level, this port is too fucked to fix right now, and likely, at the very least, needed another 10 months in the oven. But no. Iron Galaxy and Naughty Dog just had to rush out the port months before it was even out of what I'd consider an alpha stage of development in order to cash in on the Pedro Pascal hype, undoubtedly created by the show. But you know what? Maybe Naughty Dog and Sony have an excuse for putting out this pile of shit. Let's ignore the basic fact that they obviously knew the state of the game when publishing it, since they bloody made it, and hear their explanation for blatantly falsely marketing the game to Steam Deck owners and just flat out scamming all customers of the game on PC, after promising it would be fixed due to the delay they gave it. IGN points out that Steam Deck support for The Last of Us Part 1 isn't a priority for Naughty Dog, despite their blatant pre-launch promises that were never corrected.
Was it really so much a promise, though? Just Neil Druckmann was saying it would grace the Steam Deck. And yes, it does run on Steam Deck. Here's what I'm going to say. As far as like the Steam Deck shit goes. I think it should not be the priority for Naughty Dog right now. Naughty Dog and Iron Galaxy and Sony. What needs to be the priority is getting the PC version up and running, you know, with the recommended specs and the maximum specs, whatever they said, you know, that you need to play The Last of Us. The Last of Us needs to be at, I would say, almost bare minimum hit 60 FPS all the time. And it needs to be optimized more correctly. Then you work down to the Steam Deck. Then you scale it down to the Steam Deck. You don't just go to the Steam Deck, then go to, I guess you would say, the higher end PC builds. I agree, 100%. It's not acceptable that this game is in the state it's in. But like I said, it is getting better. And I do think that they should prioritize PCs over Steam Deck. Because then, I guess the idea would be you could kind of scale down from there. Just saying. I'm actually kind of agreeing with Mischief on this. It's weird. I actually came out this video kind of hot-headed, but I find myself agreeing with him a bit. Like, again, aggressive language, but your core message I actually understand somewhat agreeing with.
Until after they scam people. After all, it's obviously better to do wrong by your community and then ask for forgiveness rather than simply not scamming your customer base. To which Neil Druckmann responded in a quote tweet, "Correction. Getting verified isn't a priority. Optimization and stability on the Steam Deck and other PC platforms is."
You went full retard, man.
How did he go full retard? That's what should be your priority, not Steam Deck. There's only so many Steam Decks out there. How many PCs are out there? Which one do you think they should fix first? The PC version or the Steam Deck version? Tell me in the comments.
Never go full retard.
That's the fucking exact same thing. That is literally the exact same thing. Getting verified on Steam after Valve themselves checked your game and listed it as unsupported is the same as focusing on optimization and stability improvements for the deck. If it were any other scenario, I'd say playable would be perfectly acceptable Steam Deck support level, but in this case, it's very clear that the literal only reason as to why this game is labeled unsupported is because of the egregiously poor optimization and the poor being flat out horrific at its most fundamental level. Not to mention, this is the worst way to respond to the fact that you outright scammed and lied to your customers who pre-ordered the game on the Steam Deck, and perhaps bought it afterwards because you didn't delist it and they were unknowing of the issues with it, since you lot are trying your hardest to downplay the issues. All things considered, if there's one developer that currently deserves to be boycotted, it sure as hell aren't the Hogwarts Legacy developers. It's Naughty Dog.
Okay, so, like I said, some of his stuff I actually agree with and some I disagree with. Like I said, I don't think that Naughty Dog should be sued. I don't think Sony should be sued. What needs to happen is come out and apologize for the state the game's in and say, hey, you know what? It's our bad. So here's, you know, will drop the price of the game from $60 to $40, and our deepest condolences. That's what honestly I would do at this point if I was in charge at Naughty Dog or Sony. But at the same time, I'm not. I'm just a fan. And like I said, I don't disagree with Mischief on certain points, but I do disagree with the suing and calling the game a scam. Because you did get The Last of Us. For a game, to me, for a game to qualify as a scam, it's either not the game you were promised, or it was, you got nothing in return. Like, how some of those Kickstarter games, those games are like people fund and then like they never get the game. That to me is a scam. But that said, yeah, I got nothing else to say. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube algorithm BS. And like I said, check out Mischief's video. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? Are you in this? Are you are you on his side, or are you someone like me who's like, you're kind of right and you're kind of wrong? Just you're being a little over aggressive. Till next time, peace out and have a good day.